Oh, you're recording this? I forgot, dude.
I'm gonna put that. Hey guys, it's Cobinho, and this is our 22nd episode of Making Sense with Cobinho. But yeah, this will talk about random thoughts on random topics. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Making Sense with Cobinho. This is our 22nd episode. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest for this week. Let's introduce Jeff.
Okay, you're struggling to introduce it there, but my name is Jeff. No, oh my God, why would you say my name is Jeff? Hi everyone. I can't really see you. I can only see Calvin, but can I call you Calvin? Is that good?
Yeah,
or do you want Calvino?
Feel free to call me Calvin, or
I call you Calv. How about that?
Cal.
Yeah.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Welcome to Making Sense with Cobinho.
Yeah, happy to be here. Good.
You should be. Anyways,
okay, I'm gonna leave now. Bye.
Okay, so our topic for today is cultural identity, right? So before we head on to our first segment, let us just introduce yourself. You know, let us know more about you instead of the name Jeff.
Okay, not too much. Okay, I like my privacy.
Oh, he like his big
That's why
mysterious.
That's why I have a PowerPoint behind me. But anyways, I'm Filipino.
Are you
in Ireland. No, bro. I said
Okay.
it for the fun. You know, I'm not Filipino. Okay, I am Filipino. I lived in Ireland for like 18 years. So pretty immersed immersed into the culture and everything else. But I still have some Filipino values. You know, I'm studying in university right now. It's a bit of a stress.
Without further ado, we'll head on to our first segment. What is cultural identity? I don't know what that means. So if you could give us, let's start with a Google definition. I think that's a safe way to start.
Yeah, I just Googled it there, and cultural identity is basically the identity of belonging to a group, part of a person's self-conception and self-perception, you know, relating to nationality, ethnicity, and even religion. You know, I didn't realize there's such a lot of factors to cultural identity.
A lot of factors, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you give us like any sort of example of?
I think for people is most common nowadays is how they carry themselves or their tendencies. For example, like, you know, one culture. If you grew up in one culture, you tend to do other stuff, like, and people will find it weird, like, why are you doing that? You know, while back home you would be doing it all the time. You know.
So you meant like especially to those who move to different countries, and they're kind of like adapting to the culture of the country they're living in now, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's
or you are a kid of children of immigrants, right?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that was
Why so
definitely
funny?
No, because I'm having flashbacks from all the experience I had when I was when I was a kid. It's rough times, man. Like it's especially when you're a kid, you grew up in your own country, and then you get put into this totally different country, and you don't know what's happening. You don't know where your parents are moving, where your entire family's moving, and you kind of just go with the flow. You have no choice, you know, as a kid.
Yeah, that's. I get what you mean. I think people nowadays, in general, is they're lucky in a way because obviously we have access to internet, so people can easily relate to things back to their home country, or to their origin. I would say, or it's like.
their roots.
Their roots.
Yeah. But that, I feel like that could be a double-edged sword, though. You know, Because since we do have social media, since we do have these different platforms, you can put all these different cultures inside social media, you know, and then people can adapt different cultures, but it might conflict with the culture that they have right now, or they may have multiple culture because of the internet, you know, and that might be conflicted within their parents. You know, I know my parents is very much Asian, and Asian, yeah, and Filipino. So
yeah,
it's their values are different from like if I adopted another culture, it would be different from their values. And
you know, you have to basically adapt to the culture, because if you don't, you know, there are other things that might impact you. For example, mentally, you know, you might think like you might feel alienated. You're not into what is the norm. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get you.
And or sometimes you just miss what is what you're used to, and then when you go back home, it's completely different already. So you're kind of like stuck in the middle of like.
Yeah, I don't know. That's completely relatable to me, because this is just my own concept, but I feel like if you are an immigrant and you go to another country, there's like different stages to settling in.
Yeah.
I always like to call the first stage as like the raw stage, because you're completely new, right? You're completely exposed to this new culture and environment. And then you have your own culture and you're trying to keep that intact, being surrounded by different culture all the time. So that's the raw stage. And then there's a second stage, which I like to call the conflict stage. What are you saying?
Stage, yeah.
There's a conflict stage is where you start to adapt a few things from the culture you're surrounded with, and that kind of conflicts with the culture you already have. You know, it might not get along. It might be from one side of the world,
yeah,
and then it might be the culture that you're in right now could be the other side of the world. You know, and that those two cultures can conflict. And finally, the third stage is like establishing roots. You know, like you're getting adapted to the culture already, and that causes even more conflict and confusion because you're like, what am I really? You know, am I this culture or am I my ethnicity? Like, you start to question your identity and like, where do you actually belong? But that's just my view on it, and that's
I get my experience. That's true.
Oh, you're recording this? I forgot, dude.
I'm gonna put that as a blooper,
bruh.
So why don't we talk about the different kinds of cultural identity? Because you did mention there's nationality, ethnicity, religion, social class, etc. So in regards to nationality and ethnicity, obviously moving to a different country. I don't know if you studied in the in your home country, Philippines.
How did you know that? See the Filipino connection. I see that.
Yeah, and so obviously when you move in and then you attend school, it's a whole different curriculum, whole different subjects and stuff, and especially the most prominent one I would say is history. So obviously in Ireland you probably learn about historical stuff that happened in Ireland back in the day, whereas obviously for us in England, right? Obviously talked about the kings and queens and all that and World War.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Philippines, we learned more about Philippine history.
Jose Rizal.
Jose Rizal.
Lapu-Lapu. Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. It's completely different. I've only gone to school in the Philippines since I was 3 years old. So that was like, what, kindergarten? But I know I remember some differences. I actually remember my first time going to school in Ireland. I had no English.
Really?
zero English. I don't know. My parents just put me in a school, and they kind of just put me in a school and hope for the best, basically. And I remember my first day, I only knew the word "what," so I kept saying it. I kept saying it to the people beside me. I was like, "What, what?" And I remember it was a weird experience. You know, I didn't really think much of it at the time because I was really young. But looking back at it, it's just.
So when was that? Yesterday.
Yeah, that was yesterday actually. Yeah, I learned English overnight. Wow. You know, I was looking at dictionaries and stuff, so yeah, pretty quick.
For our second segment, let's talk about our own experiences. Let's focus on ourselves and our experiences with cultural identity. I want to start with mine, with what I've already mentioned earlier, with like school and stuff. I've already talked about
experience.
No, not that one. No, I mean like I've talked about this on my one of my episode, which was a minority one, but it was, I think, one of the one that's really like not shocked. Yeah, well, kind of shocked me, but like really opened my eyes that I have different culture than everyone. Was that when I brought lunch, Filipino lunch, like I bought adobo to school, and then in the dining hall, I sat with everyone, and everyone was eating pasta, or fish and chips, and then I brought out my lunchbox, and it was like adobo and rice, and then I was using spoon and fork, and then everyone was like, "Why do you use spoon and fork? And what is that?" I was just like, "Whoa, it's different." So I quickly like put away because like people were like so intrigued, and I wasn't ready for that really because obviously back home, nobody really cares, right? Because that was the norm. Whereas here, the norm is different.
But was it in an ice cream container too? By any chance?
Luckily, no. If it was, then that would be
lucky. You got off lucky there.
Yeah.
No, but definitely, yeah. I have the exact same experience. My first day, no English. My parents gave me the most Filipino or Asian lunch they could get. And of course, it's gonna smell different from like the other food. Other people had like sandwiches, like had fruits and stuff. I was looking around, I was like, can you really survive with that?
Yeah.
But I took out my lunch and in this ice cream container, and everyone was all like, "Whoa, you have ice cream for lunch?" Of course, I didn't understand what they were saying, so I was just like, I'm just gonna eat my lunch, right? And then I took it out. There's rice, and I can't remember what it was, but it was a Filipino dish, and there were just questions. There's echoes of questions around the table, like, "What is that? Like, what is that food? Hey, why does it smell like that?" And then I think that was like one of the first moments that I really encountered like the cultural difference that I was in. Like that was like the defining moment. It was like, wow, I'm in a totally different world. Like this is not like I'm not used to this world, because people are asking what I'm doing when it was normal for me like a few weeks ago. But that was one of the moments where I felt I was really different from everyone else. The last time I went home to the Philippines was 10 years ago. So that already, I'm scared.
Last time?
Yes, last time was 10 years ago.
Oh.
It's been a very long time. That's why I'm a bit anxious if I actually do go back to the Philippines, because it's going to be a different world.
It's completely different.
I'm going to be such an alien, and this is the country that I was born in. It's a bit of a shame, really, but like, I've accepted it, and that's the main thing for me anyways. But going home before I remember, because I left when I was 3 years old, and I came back, I think when I was 7 or 8. So that's a few years. And when I came back home to my actual city, I could remember remnants of places like roads, like those things where you can remember the directions vaguely. And I'm just seeing these look so different from what I remembered. You have this memory all the time when you're abroad. you have this memory of the place that you left, and when you actually go back to see it, and you're like, this was totally different from what I was thinking about back in Ireland or whatever you were saying, wherever you were staying. But it's that shock again, and the cultural shock. I wasn't really adapted as much because I was still very young. But I'm sure if I go home now, then I'm gonna be such an alien.
One of the problems is, well, I think it's a problem with the culture identities. Sometimes with especially with Philippines, with developing country, they think that moving to a Western country is like you automatically become rich, right?
Yeah.
So they think that English is already of high intelligence. Like if you speak English, then you're more intelligent than your peers who speak your home language. So what tends to happen is some people migrate to, let's say, here in the UK. After a year, they pretend they don't know how to speak Filipino already. They think they have adapted to the culture already. Like, why is it so shameful to cast out your other side of the culture? Right? If you get what I mean, because I know some people who are like that, who insist they have forgotten their old culture, and they're fully adapted to the culture of the land they are living in.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say embrace your two cultures because it's a part of who you are.
People who grew up or were born in a different country, I think it's a lot harder for them.
Yeah.
Because they don't know the actual roots of their ethnicity background. Like, they know from their parents, of course. Their parents.
Their parents' story. Yeah.
Yeah, their parents have traditions. There you go. That's part of the culture, but that's not exactly the culture. Traditions, beliefs. Those are just factors of a culture. They're not exactly what the culture is about. So for me, it's a lot harder on them, especially if they're growing up in this culture and they're being told you're a different culture. Can you imagine how hard that is? Being trying to fit into another culture and being told you're not the same culture as us. You're a different culture, but you have no idea what that culture is about because you never grew up there. And for me, it's a lot harder for them, and I can really sympathize with them. Personally, that's not me, but I can only imagine what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends who are born here, and there are times when, for example, we're in a group, and they're the only ones who cannot understand the language, the language back home. So they can't, or for example, the experiences, they can't relate to the experiences because the experiences that they have here is it's a lot different from the experiences that we have who have moved here, because the experience that they have, since they were kids, they already were able to adapt to the culture of the country they are born in. An example of that, I mean, I would delve into the school.
Yeah.
Because obviously your peers aren't. I mean, you might have peers that are Filipinos, but they are probably the same as you.
Yeah, the same struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like your parents, their parents might say like, oh, you're not you're not puti, you're not white, so don't try to act like you're white. But then for you, it's like, what is acting white? Because like that's all you know really. And then when you go meet your friends, they can see that you are different in a way, because obviously things back home, or things at your home, at your house, your household, you do different stuff. For example, your parents, they probably watch like TFC or something.
They have the Walis.
The media and stuff. So you probably adapt as well with your parents' culture, and you try to make it as your own. So a lot of people, I think, are trying to reclaim that back. They're trying to get to know their origin. I kept saying origin, but
it's well, you can say roots, but it's true. It's your origin.
yeah, the roots. Yeah, they're trying to reclaim the roots. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before we end this segment, for you guys who are watching or who are listening, why don't you tell us? What are your experiences with your culture identity? If you are born here, or if you are born in a different country, um, what are your thoughts on your cultural identity? Because obviously we don't know how do you assimilate those two cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, let us know. And if you're watching on YouTube, comment below and would love to read them. Or send Jeff a message on Instagram. So, here comes the audience participation segment. As you know, we'd like to include you guys to the topic. So, for my one, I asked a simple question. It's another poll, same as last week. I asked you guys, are you currently living in the country you were born in? Right? So, yes and no are the options. For yes, we have 41%, and for no, we have 59%. So, with my audiences, a lot of you are currently living um, in a different country, right? I want to give a shout out 5 to 5 as before. So the 5 people who said yes, I want to give a shout out to at Aroanem, Aroanem, Angelica.
Butchering that name.
I am sorry, I'm bad at pronunciation. Second one at pxx.m underscore. Number 3, Breath of Fresh Friday podcast, so you can check them out as well. And number 4, at Melody J. Number 5, I want to give a shout out to Blue Knight PH. So those are the people who said yes. So they are currently living in the country they were born in. So for you guys, do leave a comment or send us a message. What are your thoughts on your cultural identity? So heading on to No, who mentioned that they are currently living in a different country. There's 40 people, right? So that's a lot. But I want to give a shout out to at Alyssa X Chen. Second one, I want to give a shout out to at Ella.Mika. And third, Spicy Peaches underscore. The fourth one, Podcast Overhaul. And the last one, at Danielle.zb. So for you guys, your question as well. Let us know your thoughts on your cultural identity. Have you fully adapted and removed your original culture identity, or how do you mix the two together, right? What about you, Jeff? What's your question?
My question was, I asked on my Instagram story, what is the best / worst thing about living abroad or a different country from where you were born in? And the first one is, let me see, Kathleen Hayes. I like this one because this one's she knows exactly what it's like to live in a different country. She's from Belgium, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she's from Belgium. I'm not sure if she grew up there or was born there. But she said the best thing is learning how to adapt to culture and lifestyle. The worst thing is homesickness. And the second one. Let me see if I can find it here. She said for the worst one is your family can't annoy you all the time. And the best thing about it is your family can't annoy you all the time.
Oh, that's a cute one.
Which is a really clever way of putting it and phrasing it. It's a really nice touch to it, and that's why I like it. She's from Germany, Alex. She used to be in my high school, and she's not from Germany. My bad, Alex. My bad. She's from Russia. My bad. Okay, for the third one, actually, he's from here in Ireland as well, but he said one single word, and that was culture. That's the best and the worst thing about living abroad or living in a different country, which speaks volumes for just one word. And so I like that one. It has a lot of meaning for just one word. So the fourth one is from Angelica Bercy. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, but she said, knowing that you can be attacked for being another race, which goes to the negative side, the really negative side of living in a different country. But it's real. It's very much real. It's reality, and some people have to live with that every day, and so I think that deserves recognition.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you guys for submitting those answers and participating to my polls. Unfortunately, we can't shout all of you, but we see you.
we see you. We feel you.
We're grateful. So for this segment, we would like to recommend you anything that we are into this week. So for my one, I've been really into this app because I'm kind of learning Korean. So the app is called TEIUDA. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but I will obviously post it here or something. You'll see it, the screenshot. Basically, it's a Korean learning app, but it's special because it's like a pre-recorded video, but you're talking to someone. I think that someone is like some K-pop artist.
Oh wow!
You basically have to communicate with her. Yeah, it makes you feel like you're actually talking to someone. So if you want to learn Korean, I highly recommend that. So yeah, 안녕하세요. 저는 칼빈입니다.
Okay, for my recommendation, I want to recommend Familia Mendoza on Instagram. Check out their page. They do Korean food. I think the latest one there is a Korean hot dog, which I didn't know existed, but you can go ahead and check their post and food out. So my quote of the week is actually from a friend of mine. It's not from me, but he said, "Behind every great name you see on the screen lies a person just like you and I," which speaks volumes. Kind of motivational in a way, because it motivates you that, hey, like this might be a famous YouTuber, but with enough dedication, you can be like just like him. So remember that.
So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. I hope you are enlightened and have liked it. I know it's a little bit a little bit deeper than the normal topics that we have, but it's a really nice topic because it's something that I think a lot of people are able to relate to. But yeah, I would like to just thank our guest Jeff for giving us his knowledge on cultural identity.
My Google knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, thank
Happy
you,
to be
Jeff.
here.
I'm glad. How was it? Do you like podcasting? Do you like guesting in podcast?
I might try it again. Who knows?
Yeah, he might come back. So make sure you subscribe.
maybe.
But yeah, if you want to, you can shout out your socials or give your shout outs to anyone.
Yeah. So your face is putting me off.
Oh wow, that is rude.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give out my Instagram. It's Jest.3. JEST.3.
What about your address, your university, your school?
Oh, my address. You can PM me whenever, and then I'll give you my address.
Yeah. What about shout outs? You want to give a shout out to anybody?
Sure. Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the Lalang podcast. It's on YouTube. They're starting up their podcast, and they have their first episode out already. So go ahead and check that out. It's pretty fun, and they're just pretty chill. And also shout outs to Hilary Mendoza for the recommendation for Instagram. And shout out to Joshua Hibbo for the quote of the week. Very inspiring.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's just let you guys know that any of this didn't come from Jeff. He's not prepared.
Copyright.
But yeah, so my shout out is just for this week is just for you guys. Shout out you guys for your support. Um, I am now. I don't even know how many episodes I'm in, but this season. But the support and the feedback that I get from all of you, um, you know, really does help me boost my confidence in this podcasting. Um, but if you guys would like to know more or would like to support me, go check me out on Instagram at Making Sense with Calvino, where I post more audience participation over there. Or if you want to be a listen, or if you want to be a listener, then you can go to my Patreon at patreon.com/Making Sense with Calvino. Check the benefits. You never know, you support me. And if you're listening on Spotify, um, Apple Podcasts, or even iHeart Radio Podcast, you can check me out on YouTube because there's a video version of my podcast now. You can see how ridiculous Jeff um, is doing. But yeah, so thank you guys again, and I hope to see you guys next Monday. See you.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Bye.